But when you're a parent who does not hit their kid, who does not neglect their kid, and is working your ass off to try and bring like a better life and health, and then to have someone come in and say, you're lying, you're a monster, and you're dangerous to your child, like how you go through that without just shooting people is beyond me.
And she never.
Oh man, that Sophie Long case is crazy. Like that's some wild shit.
I've not heard of that case, so I don't
It's a
get me
rabbit
involved
hole.
in another one. I can't take
No,
it anymore.
it's basically over now, and the ending is just a complete disaster. Both parents, like, it was a divorce, and there's this little girl. You might have seen the video. The little girl had to go back to her mom's house, and there was a viral video a couple years ago where she's in her grandmother's car screaming about how she doesn't want to go back.
I do know that case. I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't know what's happened with that. Did they ever?
Oh, it's a mess.
It is a mess. I couldn't tell what was going on. I tried and I couldn't tell.
Michael took Sophie and fled with her to Mexico.
Right.
He was picked up in Mexico. He was extradited back to the States. Sophie is now, I believe, in foster care because the mom, who was the darling of the entire fucking court system, they had to terminate her ability to be with the kids because she kept being with the boyfriend who kept harming the kids. The boyfriend Jacob,
so he was touching them?
I don't know if they found sexual harm on him, but he injured one of the kids and was charged with domestic abuse for injuring. I think
so they should drop all the charges against her father because that's what he was saying.
But the charges are now against him that he like defied court orders and
right. But what are you supposed to do when your kid, your kid is being abused? You're supposed to listen to some goddamn judge who tells you that you have to send your kid back to an abuser? Fuck you. Yeah. I'm not kidding.
Like, no, I'm with it. 100%.
Fuck you. I'm not going to do that. I know of a woman who ran to Canada and actually won asylum from the family court system in America because it's so goddamn awful.
It's fucking terrible. Yeah.
I'm screaming. My kids are sleeping. Jeez.
No, they need this red pill. They need it. They need the red pill harder than Elizabeth needed a dead pill.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Oh, the chat loves it when I start yelling. It's so funny.
No, but that's because it's right and it's righteous. And anybody who either has kids or knows someone who has kids knows exactly how this goes. And the wonder is like Michael Long, I'm like, all he did was take the girl and flee to Mexico. He didn't just shoot Jacob Wellington. He didn't just fucking shoot the guy who was touching his daughter.
He should be given a medal for restraint.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's crazy.
That's absurd. And you know what? Look, let's not pretend that these people wearing black robes have some kind of power or knowledge that nobody else has. And they're so special because you have to call them your honor and you have to stand up when they walk in the room. Fuck you. Who are you? Like, I can't even take it. These people have been responsible for the deaths of children because they didn't send them to the right parent.
By the way, if you don't know, I did interview Michael Long, the dad of Sophie Long.
Oh, did you? I think I.
So that's up on the channel if you're ever curious about.
I have heard interviews with him. I don't remember if I interviewed him. I might have. I don't remember. I've talked to so many people, but I work with the Father's Rights Movement sometimes in Missouri. Kenneth Rosa, he's one of my good friends, and he has interviewed him several times, and I've watched interviews with him. I had a real hard time figuring that one out. I didn't have at first I thought that Dad was right for sure, and then the spin machine got going, and I was like, oh God, and those women who are hardcore domestic abuse survivor women are very hostile to the men's rights movement. It's like these people cannot see eye to eye. They can never see through to the truth, which is you are all victims of the same system that's fucking you. And if you could just turn around and realize that you're all being screwed by the same people, your enemy is not these fathers who have been screwed, and their enemy is not the mothers who've been screwed. The enemy is the damn system that is screwing you, but they just fight all the time. So they got the domestic violence people were like putting out all this other information about him and muddying the waters. And so it just became impossible. And it wasn't a case I was close to. So I didn't have the evidence in front of me, and I didn't know.
Even I tried to follow it, and it got so fucking crazy by the end with like, because everything just went to 11. Like a kid got his hand broken with Jacob Wellington, and like there's this big cup. Like for whatever reason, the court was like the court and the police were like protecting Jacob Wellington forever. It's like this guy seems like a giant fucking scumbag, but apparently his family has a ton of money and influence in the area. I don't know. But he seemed like a giant fucking scumbag, and for whatever reason, they just kept like doing this. It's like he should be barred from being around these children, at least in the interim, especially because he's alleged to have hurt them and violated. When he actually was involved in, it was like a go-kart accident where one of the kids' hands got broken. He was barred from seeing the children. And the mom brought the children to him anyway. And then the kid got injured. That should have been immediate. Nope. You don't get to have the kids at all at this point. They either need to go to foster care or they need to go to the dad or whatever. But their solution on any of this was to send the kids to the mom's sister who lived in the same city. And so it's like, well, that's not realistic. That's not impartial. That's not a person who's going to keep the mom away. And the mom, Kelly Long, is an absolute cunt, no matter what is going on. She was terrible. And again, in the long run, she's not allowed to see the children either.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, and this is the problem nasty. Too. If you can't, and I always advise people, I'm not a lawyer, but from my experience, I tell people, if you can avoid this bullshit custody stuff, you have to. You have to avoid it, because you can't even believe what the system does to people. It turns people I've seen it where people were in agreement before they even got in there what the custody agreement was going to be. And then the lawyers get involved, those greedy ass lawyers who want to milk them for all they're worth. And they start fights between the two of them. And it becomes a shit show like you can't believe. Yes. Listen, people, if you're getting married and you have kids or whatever, you better figure this shit out from the beginning and make sure you stick to that pact, because it can ruin your life.
I just want to say one more thing about the Sophie Long case.
Yeah.
Was one of the things that's really an easy case study from the case is to look at just how incestuous the relationship is between the judge, their preferred guardian ad litem appointee.
Oh God, don't get me started.
Where they appointed the attorney and the guardian ad litem for Sophie Long, and then they were both acting as attorney and guardian ad litem interchangeably, which is directly contrary to what the law states.
There's no one to enforce that law. There's no one to do it. There's no oversight committees. The Bar Association doesn't give a shit. There is no one to go to.
The only person who enforces it is the judge who appointed them, and they appoint them for every case.
Yeah.
So they're never going to enforce anything.
They're never going to enforce it. You have to ask
money
yourself.
Cycle.
You have to ask yourself, though, what is the judge getting out of it? This is the question I cannot answer. Why does the judge do it? Is the judge getting a kickback?
No, it's just like I legitimately, people are fundamentally lazy most of the time. And here's the thing. Judges work with these people on every case. You work with a defense attorney on 1 out of 20 cases or whatever, maybe 2 or 3 out of per day. But you work with the prosecutor, with those guardian ad litems. If you're a family court judge, if you have like one of those counties,
they're your coworkers.
They're literally your coworkers that you work with them on every case. And a defense attorney comes in every now and then.
And that's the outsider. Mm-hmm.
And it's
not fair.
Easy.
How is this? How is this fair?
Them. The judge I work with them on all these cases, and they're trustworthy on all of them.
I don't
ignoring
give a
the fact that they might not be trustworthy on any of them. What I tell people when I first of all, I usually teach the Constitution to our homeschool co-op. Sometimes I teach other things. I teach like criminal law or whatever. But whenever it comes up, I remind all of them. And whenever I talk about the legal system, I said, you got to remember that judges are naked under those robes.
Oh, that's so funny.
Because under the robe is a saggy, naked, sad human, like just like anybody else. But they wear that robe and suddenly they are empowered with something. It's like, no, under the robe, that's just a weird, naked person, just like anybody else. And They've been given the authority to make some decisions, but most of them have no special insight or any particular talent of decision making. They don't have like some blessing of discernment. Noah's not here being like, yeah, God ordained this one.
Right.
It's just some weirdo who won an election or got usually they get an appointment and then they get reelected is how they tend to end up.
Some of them aren't even qualified when they get these appointments. Some of them never even practice law. Like you can't even, it's the idea that like these people, I could be a better judge than some of these judges because I'm not lazy and I will look at evidence. The thing that, and I've said this before on this program, I don't have to repeat it. They're so lazy that they count on these court psychologists, you know, like this guy in Colorado I told you about who's paid by the state. And then she thinks that his opinion is worth something. It's bought and paid for. How can you be a judge and your whole job is to be unbiased? Like you're supposed, that's your whole job is to just be objective. And that means you can't side with the state. And you have to hear the evidence, and you're the fact finder for most of these things, especially in family court. You're the only fact finder. But they pawn this off on all these other people who have all these other motivations, and it's all about the money.